welcome back to the Mosaic Podcast.
Hi, guys.
Today, we're going to be talking about cultural insensitivity in K-pop. If you guys have watched us before, you know that we mention K-pop here and there. The three of us, we have like varying degrees of involvement with K-pop. Some of us like a group or two here and there. Another has been increasingly interested in K-pop, and some of us are just full-blown K-pop fans over here. So I thought that it would be really interesting to talk about a series of unfortunate events that have been happening very recently in the K-pop space. So first we're going to talk about the impact that different cultures have had on K-pop, and then we're going to watch and discuss 4 specific topics and have discussions around them. But starting off, let's first talk about K-pop and the influence that other cultures have had on it.
Okay, my thoughts are more general. To me, I think that cultural. Okay, here we are. To me, I think that culture influences everything. There's different cultures that influence different types of, I guess, like genres, areas, like whether it's music, politics, whatever, like culture is always an influence. And I think when it comes to K-pop specifically, music is an area that has so much cultural influence. Like if you pick one genre, like if you pick indie music, you can find like 10 different cultures that have influenced that one genre. And so I think with K-pop, it's a very specific type of it's not that K-pop, the way I break it down in my head, K-pop is not necessarily the music that's the same, but it's like an ideology of how they train and then how they perform. That's how I see it. And so I think a lot of times when I see the cultural influences in K-pop, it's more so in, I hope I'm making the distinction right. It's more so in the music itself, like whatever one song they produce or a style they're wearing when they're dancing or a choreograph, whatever. And so to me, I think that it's really important for us to think about, well, we're not K-pop idols. We should still think about it as consumers, but I think it's really important for K-pop idols to think about the different cultures and the way that it impacts and forms their production of music and their choreography. We should also think about when you're asking yourself, okay, what culture is being influenced? You have to ask yourself, was this culture spread with integrity or not? Was it morally spread or not? Because when you think about colonization was the introduction to a lot of spread of different cultures. Like colonizers came in, eradicated or attempted to eradicate the cultural aspects they didn't like, and then the ones they did like, they took and then remade it their own, quote unquote. And so when it comes to K-pop artists creating music and like choreography, it's really important that they ask themselves, where is this stemming from, culturally speaking? How was that spread? And then how can I educate myself? That's my
Interesting.
That's and interesting. Consumers. Sorry. I do think it's on consumers a little bit too. If you don't know, you don't know, but once you're being made aware, like if I'll hear Afro beats in K-pop music
Yeah.
because I'm African. But if like there was like indigenous music that was in it, I probably wouldn't be aware of it unless someone told me. And then it's my responsibility to understand the distinction of the two.
I've always seen, like, if you, like Rose said, if you take K-pop away from the way K-pop groups have emerged and have
Mm-hmm.
become a thing, if you keep that aside and you look at the music alone, I've always found that it, in a large sense, and I might be wrong because I like a couple of groups and that's about it. And I'm not a great fan of music. I don't know a lot about music. I'm prefacing everything that I say with this. I feel that it mimics the West a lot, and not in a bad way. How do I put it? It's like it takes inspiration from the kind of influences that are used by Western artists, and they put their own spin to it. That's what I see. Um, I do not know. I cannot recognize if there are other cultures that are there in a particular K-pop song, like an indigenous beat or something that comes from what was it, African beats? Did you say
Afrobeat.
Afro beats? I'm not exactly sure. I can't recognize those nuances. Perhaps if something classical Indian is used, I might be able to recognize that because I'm exposed to that more and it's more distinct to me.
Hmm.
But apart from that, I don't think I noticed it. But I do see that there is mimicking is the wrong word, but they take a lot of inspiration from what is done and the patterns and styles that are used in the West. And lately, they've been putting their own spin to it. But if you compare the music from, let's say, the early 2000s in K-pop to now, there is a change in the kind of music they make, as is in any other culture. But I think it's more akin to how to say K-pop has become less about Korean and more about English and Korean.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the biggest influences that I see um, in K-pop. But
Yeah.
That's a good point
Hmm.
because like I was thinking about it. I told you guys this, but I had a friend in middle school, like one of my closest friends. She loved K-pop. I would watch it with her because she loved it, but I wasn't a K-pop fan. I had a friend in high school, same thing. Friend in college, same thing. And it wasn't until last year when T showed me ATs. Well, T showed me a lot of groups, but then I actually like got into it. Now that you're like Shreya, what you explained about the whole like them taking on Western culture in a way and integrating it into K-pop. You're right, because the K-pop I heard when I was in middle school and my friend was a big fan, I just don't see it doesn't sound the same as what I'm hearing today, like the groups I'm being introduced to today. Even if you look at groups and how they progress, like if to me at least, I will also preface everything by saying I don't know that much about K-pop. It's been almost a year since I've been introduced to the world like deeply. Um, but let's just preface with that. But to me, with what I've learned from BTS and what he has shown me from BTS, even in their discography, you can see like the shifts and the change and how like I feel like they've always had some type of Western influence because they had a really big hip hop influence from the beginning. But you can slowly start to see them mimic the quote unquote out the musical algorithm of the West. So like it makes sense to me now. Cause I always thought to myself, I was like, what I've been introduced to K-pop like 3 times. Why is like the fourth one? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm really into it. And maybe that's why. And AT's debuted in 2018, like they're still fairly new. So maybe they were already incorporating Western musical ideologies into it, which also speaks to cultural appropriation because you know us in America, we love that so much.
I agree with both of you guys. I think that this topic is like really interesting because when you look at the genre of K-pop, it's very new still. Like the first official
Hmm.
like K-pop group came out in like April of 1992. Like it's math. Y'all know me in math. 33 years, right? It's like only 33 years old. So it's interesting when you look at it because you'll see a lot of like notions from fans where they're like keep the K in K-pop and like keep K-pop Korean,
Mm,
but
yeah,
to be honest, like the very foundation of K-pop was rooted in influences from the West, from other places. So it's like, yeah, it's turned into its own thing. You know, they did have inspirations from other places and they built the culture that is K-pop now. But I don't know. I just feel like the argument is very weird because it's normal that you take inspiration. I feel like at this point, a lot of different things are derived from something. You know what I mean? So,
everything is.
yeah. So I just think it's very weird argument. But I think that's honestly what makes different things great. Like K pop, especially the fact that you can touch on different things and that you can maybe explore with Afro beats. You can explore with Latin. How do you say that? Latin? Like I'm thinking
Latin?
Airplane Part 2. Like that it has like a real Latin beat to it. You know what I mean?
Like
yeah.
reggaeton.
If that's what it's called. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
form of Latin music.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
not sure if
okay.
that's exactly what it would be called,
I
but
don't
yeah,
know.
something
I
like
don't
that.
remember Airplane 2. I don't remember what the song
Shreya
is.
love her that song. She tried to ask for that to be song of the week like 4 times. I said, "Girl, you did it already."
I'm like, no.
I,
But yeah, I think it's great. I think that's one of the strong factors about K-pop, but I feel like people kind of take like this thing of keep like gatekeeping it, but it's like it's already global. You know what I mean? It's always kind of
yeah,
had that.
I agree with you to a large extent, seeing that it was K-pop in itself came as an amalgamation of different cultures put together. It was heavily influenced by um, other cultures, mainly Western culture, or the different types of music in Western culture. But when I hear keep the K in K-pop, my mind immediately goes to the language that they're singing.
Mm, like there's a lot of people who English songs are more popular now, and I think that is something that's increasingly been seen. But at the same time, I don't think people are losing their Korean, you know, roots. They're just exploring other things.
I
I thought
don't
it was
think
about, sorry, I thought it was about keeping it like Eastern Asian people, like all
That
the
too,
idols
that goes
being
into
Eastern
it
yeah,
as
Asian.
well. Yeah, foreign idols
Right.
face a lot of xenophobia in Korea.
yeah. That's also true. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Very good point. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. I should have. That was dumb. But no, but I've always felt that lately, especially the last couple of years, last 5 years or so. Have you noticed most of the songs, the chorus is always in English?
The what's always in
The
English?
chorus is almost always in
Course.
English.
Yeah. Because a large part of it in like the titles, they prioritize more like English titles. Yeah, you could say that. But I
Yeah.
also don't know enough about like second gen and first gen to say there's a definitive change. But I do notice that happens
Mm-hmm.
like third gen and up.
So I don't know. I guess the point is to retain that sense of individual cultural individuality in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
you still add that Korean culture, music culture to um, whatever music you're producing in K-pop without it just becoming something where you have Korean artists or Korean groups producing the same music that's being produced elsewhere. I think that's how I would read it. But like you guys pointed out, there are multiple aspects to it, especially the xenophobia. Wow.
Yeah. I do think I need to, I think I'm getting to the point of like being a K-pop fan that I actually have to start like understanding a lot more of the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. Like I listen to it enough where I'm like, okay, like where people, like my family or friends are asking me questions about it. And I know the basics, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I should be able to understand a lot more, especially if I'm considering myself a fan of ATs
Mm-hmm.
or XG. Also, I made that decision today. I am definitely a fan of XG, bro. Their songs hit. Like it's so good. But if I'm gonna consider myself a fan, I think I should have, or it's my responsibility to know a little bit more. So, yeah.
Hey. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to move into looking at our four situations that we're going to be
Okay.
talking about. So I have videos and pictures for some to show for each situation, then we're going to talk about them as I show them. So, just to give you guys an idea, because I said that it was like a bunch of recent events that happened kind of like within a short amount of time of each other. I have the actual dates. They're not in chronological order, but it was like back to back. So, situation number one happened March 30th, March 31st. Situation two happened April 8th. And situation three happened April 2nd.
All in
So,
this
a
year?
lot of, huh?
All this year.
Yeah, this year. So a lot of K-pop fans, especially Black K-pop fans, were like, "What's happening? What's wrong with these 2 weeks?" It was like boom, 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 boom. It was
Yeah.
like everything just kept happening, and no one had time to recover from the last incident because something else happened new. So it was just really crazy. And then situation four is like reoccurring, and new things kind of pop up every few months or so. So situation one: Blackpink's leaked trainee videos. So Blackpink, just a little background if y'all don't know Blackpink, which I know, I think y'all both do, but they're under one of the big three labels, YG Entertainment, and recently a YG employee was fired and they were disgruntled.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
They had
I'm sorry. I was wondering.
Why?
It is not funny. It is not funny.
Why? Why?
When people get fired and they're like, I don't care, I'm gonna release everything. I don't know why that cracks me up. It's sad for the people involved, but like, okay, continue. I'll get it together.
so this employee had access to a lot of data that they then leaked and they released in retaliation to their firing. And in the videos, Blackpink members, it was 3 out of 4, Rose, Lisa, and Jennie. It was from their trainee days during their like evaluations where they would sing and get evaluated and all that jazz. So quick note, prior to this leak, people already knew from a few years ago that Jennie had said the N-word while performing an evaluation. So that wasn't new, but to my understanding, people didn't know that Lisa and Rose had as well.
Who's
So
the fourth one?
Just Sue.
Just to.
Yeah.
Wait, a question. How
Yes.
old were they when this happened?
I don't know their ages like that right off the bat, but it was like 10 years ago.
So,
They were trainees still. They
so
debuted in
teenagers, early
15,
teens,
2015. Yeah,
early
roughly.
teens.
Well, I do know their ages. They're between 1995 and 97. There you go.
Ranking them is
They have a rank list?
crazy.
So, when a person has problematic behaviors exposed, are they responsible for addressing said past behaviors? And should it affect their present day status?
Do you want to go first, Shreya, or do you want me to go?
Um, I'm fine with either actually. What would you prefer?
I was just asking because I didn't know if you were thinking or if you had an answer.
The thing is, I can think aloud. It's just that I think a responsible person. Okay, wait. My basic thing is people grow
Hmm.
as individuals, as teenagers, and then adults, and then as not so stupid adults. They grow. People grow. And as you grow, you mature, and then you realize that you've made mistakes, and then you correct your ways. That's a natural process of growing. So I don't think that should be held against a person, but they should always own up to what they've done because that shows growth. If you don't own up to it and say that, yes, I did that. I'm sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. Oh, I did that. That was wrong. Acknowledge the mistake that you made and don't do it again. I'd be okay with saying that, okay, you realize what you did was wrong. You realize what you did was inappropriate, offensive, and now you know better. And you've apologized to the people you might have hurt. But I don't know because this does not directly impact me. So I wouldn't, in this particular instance, I wouldn't know how to respond. I shouldn't be responding. It's not appropriate. My opinion does not count in this case, in this video situation.
I mean, I wouldn't agree with that, but I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
the core of what you're saying. Wait, I agree with what you said at the beginning. I don't agree with your opinion doesn't count. Let me just clarify that. I agree with the whole aspect of you have the right to change. In my head, this is a very philosophical and moral question. Okay, it's a philosophical, moral, and ethical question. It's ethical in the sense of management companies and what they allow. Management companies and how they train their trainees. What is it called? Disney does it all the time, media training, like stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like it's an ethical question of how do the management companies, the choreographers, the producers, how do they teach these young kids, because they were young, coming into it? It's a moral question because time has passed. It's been 10 years, right? So morally speaking, if someone has done something or said something that has offended another, even if it was years ago and you don't find out till later, to what degree do they get quote unquote punished for it? Because there is a punishment that comes with it. It doesn't have to be like uh you don't get to go on tour for a year. But it can be a simple punishment of like you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to say sorry. Like there's different forms and levels of punishment. No matter how harsh that word sounds, it's true. It needs to happen. And then it's a philosophical question because outside of just this specific situation, things like this happen all the time.
Yeah.
Like for in so many different aspects, whether it's saying the N word, sexual harassment, bullying, all these different things. So it's a big question we can't answer now. To me, I think if you've done something in the past, from a philosophical, moral, and ethical standpoint, you should be held accountable. It doesn't matter. I do think people should be able to hold it against you, but people should also give you the opportunity to grow. So with, okay, it's Rosa. Rose,
Rose,
Rose, Lisa, and
Jenny.
Jenny.
Jenny. What Rose, Lisa, and Jenny, they should be held accountable for what they've done. They should apologize, and it is their responsibility to help the people that they've hurt heal if the people that they hurt want that. If you're a Black fan of Blackpink, I think it's your space to say, this is how I feel about it and this is what I want done about it. And then it's Blackpink's place to be like, okay, I hear you and I'm gonna help. If someone's like, you did it, it is what it is, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to mess with it, nothing, then it's Blackpink's place to say, okay, I apologize again, I'll leave you alone. So I think it just matters the people who were hurt, and then it matters the people who took part in allowing it to happen. Because I told you guys this the other day. I think it was when we were filming or not. I don't know. I don't remember. But people keep being surprised by racism. I don't know why we're still surprised by racism. Like, racism is everywhere and intertwined in every single aspect of the global society. It just is. Historically speaking, currently speaking, all of that. And so, on one hand, I'm not like completely upset at them for doing it. I'm not upset at them not knowing better. They're from Korea. I'm sure they're not talking about DEI stuff and black culture in Korea. Like, I'm sure they didn't grow up with that. They just didn't. But I would like to see if the management has changed. I would like to see if the management I would like to see management stop being so reactive and start being proactive.
Mm.
Because that's what it keeps coming up. There's so many other K-pop idols who have done it, so many other white artists who have done it. Like Justin Bieber, I just saw a video of him saying the N-word, like singing the N-word. And I had no idea that video existed. And he's like laughing and smiling. Like it was like, whoa. But it's like, he was a kid. What has management done to help or not?
Yeah. So what I will say is, unfortunately, YG Entertainment is like known for having like trainees saying the N word and that just being known. Like, there's too many,
Saying,
yeah, who have scandals similar to that. And even their latest girl group, Baby Monster, I think they came out like last year or something. One of their members had an N word controversy, and they don't really do anything about it. I don't think YG said anything about it back then when Jenny first went through it, when Blackpink had kind of just debuted. Jenny herself didn't say anything. And the thing that always gets me in situations like this is like the fan response of like upholding what was said. Like, the babying culture is like real with like the whole, how are they supposed to know? Which I understand. But also, if you've seen 100 idols get backlash for saying the word, why do you aspire to be 101? You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so I really don't think ignorance is a get out of jail free card, because at the end of the day, it's still something that you did. That wasn't your intention to do that. And granted, I don't think the girls had a lot of autonomy in the song choice, and definitely no guidance in omitting certain words. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, on the videos that we see that have been leaked, we don't see the YG staff who set them up to do that. We see their faces in it saying the word as they sing, rap, whatever. And so I think it ends up being them that takes the brunt of it. And I just think this news, when it came out, the YG link, I feel like it's been very composed within the K-pop community. I don't think a lot of people knew about it outside of people who keep up with K-pop news. And so right now, these three members in particular, out of all the Blackpink members, they are very like global facing right now. Lisa and Jenny just finished up performing at Coachella. Rose had the song with Bruno, and she's been nominated at the AMAs. But I don't think this news got to circles like that, like the mainstream circles. People aren't talking about it. And so I think because of that, they didn't feel the need to address it. People have been pushing for them to, hey, are you guys going to say something about it? We know it was 10 years ago, but y'all could still say something. You know what I mean? Indicate the growth. No one's saying you're still that person. And I don't think you're a bad person just because you say it, because everyone makes mistakes. You're ignorant. Oh, that sounded aggressive. You're ignorant, but like, you can have ignorance, but I think it's all in how you go about handling that situation that's indicative of your character. So not saying they have bad character, but I think they made the decision, since it didn't blow up, to maybe not say anything, because once they say something, then more people are paying attention. But yeah, I do like Blackpink generally, but I do think it is one of those things, because the time is it has been a long time, but I also think you could still take accountability in some ways and indicate that you've grown since.
I have a question. This might
Mm.
sound tone deaf, but generally I'm trying to understand you. Is it because the N word is used so frequently in rap music that the people who are trying to, let's say, perform covers of other rap music that's produced in the West feel that it's okay to use the word when you're singing rap music? Is that something that they think? Is that why they think it's okay to say the word? Is that how they're justifying it in their heads?
I don't know how they
Mm,
justify it exactly, but I saw one take recently online, which I still felt okay. I understand that that's different. I still think it's dumb, but someone said like they might see it as they're embracing the culture by saying that. But if you're embracing a culture, wouldn't you want to go out of your way to make sure you're minimizing hurt or harm? And people generally, I think it's known at this point that the N word is seen as offensive. You wouldn't
Yes.
walk up to a black person and just say the N word to them. So don't sing it in a song. People change lyrics all the time. Like if they're doing a cover, if they're a different gender, they'll change the words to reflect their gender. If they're going, even like the original artist, if they're going on a platform where they can't curse, they'll change the words around so that they can still say
Mm,
something, but
mm,
it's not the cuss words. They can change the lyrics or just da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's not hard
mm.
to just shut your mouth, you know?
yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, okay.
I think I feel like the biggest argument I always hear when it comes to saying the N word in a song is like, oh, it's just the song, I'm just singing it. So I hear that all the time.
Okay,
But
so
I'm
that is an
like,
argument.
that's a rip to me from what I've heard. I'm not talking just K-pop, I'm talking in general. Like, that's just the biggest argument I've heard saying the N word in a song. But I think it's what he says, right? Like, you literally, you can't, the N word is technically a cuss word too.
Mhm.
Like, you would, if you were saying that on a television show, you'd be fine for that too. So,
Mhm.
like, it's, it's a gray area when it comes to the justification, like why they justify it. That's a gray area. There's so many different reasons, but there's no justification that makes sense. And I do agree with you too when you said like ignorance. I don't know. I can't quote you exactly. You said like ignorance is
Ignorance isn't a get out of jail free card.
free card. Yeah, I
Mm,
do agree with that. I think ignorance can gain you some grace because you don't know. You can get some grace, but you're still wrong.
Yeah.
So I'll give you grace until you fix it. And then if you don't choose to fix it, then you're actively choosing to offend others. But yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Just for the sake of time, I'm going to move us on to situation 2.
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yes.
No, we have to continue speaking about this.
What?
No, I was
She
just
was
pulling a
joking.
leg.
She was
I didn't
joking.
even hear what you said.
It's
It
okay,
took
it's
me a
lost
second to
on me
process.
now.
I was like, "Oh, that's what she said." Okay.
Oh, it's funny.
Wow. Is it
Woo!
me
I
or
love
you
it.
No,
guys?
it's us because
It's
the
you
joke
guys.
landed.
Okay.
It didn't percolate in the brain. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Um.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Situation 2: BM's N word slip up on TikTok Live. So
Who's
BM,
BM?
I'm about to get into that.
Sorry.
BM is a member of a co-ed not girl group. He's a man. A co-ed group called Card. I don't know if there's any other ones, but they're definitely the most popular co-ed group in K-pop. And so there's like just certain K-pop idols that tend to have a lot of black fans. Like they just vibe with them. So like Changbin and Bang Chan of Stray Kids, all of BTS, but mainly like the rap line, all of ATEEZ, but mainly like especially Mingi, Intak and Kiho from P1 Harmony, Johnny Mark, Jaehyung of NCT. Those are just a few. But I would say BM's like the commander in chief of that group. Like he is beloved among like black K-pop fans. And so after he had the slip up on TikTok Live, he went back on TikTok Live a few weeks later and he apologized, and he even opened up the live for like fans to come on and talk to him directly about it. So let's watch that.
So before, um, we talk about anything else, I am gonna address it again. Um, I've hurt the Black community with a certain action that I did on live a couple weeks ago when I was at home in LA. I was making a beat, and it reminded me of a DMX song. And I started mouthing the words. And as I was mouthing the words, a word that was a part of the lyrics that should have never came out of my mouth came out of my mouth. And in a sensitive time like this, for that to have happened is, it makes no sense. It's unacceptable. It was disrespectful. And although I apologized yesterday, I don't think there's any amount of apology that can really suffice for the wrongdoing I've done. You know what I mean? So I wanted to come on, one, to apologize again.
You look so sad.
um, so what I'll say about the apology is K-pop idols don't do that. They do a little written note that their company might have made for them, and they post that on social media, and then they move on with it. So I will say that was nice. It sounded really, like, sincere. And then he later on had, like, his fans, he opened it up for his fans to actually come on and talk to him and have conversation and dialogue. So a lot of people felt good about it, but then it was split. Other people were kind of like, because this is a 30-something-year-old man who was from California, so it's like, you knew. But then also the main thing is, when he was on TikTok Live doing this, he was still accepting gifts and donations. So people were like, so you're making a buck off of this. So people felt like it didn't feel as sincere anymore. So my question I want to pose with this is, how can idols show up as allies in a sincere way?
This one's weird.
Yeah.
This specific situation, not necessarily the question. The question, it's like, but the situation itself is weird. I think, just to quickly address the gifts aspect of it, I can understand. Like, you're getting financial compensation for apologizing for hurting someone. Like, but also, benefit of the doubt, maybe he
Maybe he
just
didn't know.
forgot about it. Not that he didn't know, but maybe he forgot. Like, maybe it's literally like muscle memory to go on live for him. So maybe that, I don't know. I think that it was nice of him to apologize, because even regular celebrities don't really be doing that. There's not many people who would do that. I don't know. I think it's part of it is just being there when you need to be there. I think being an ally is more than just saying you agree or disagree with someone or something, but you have to be an you have to be an active ally, not by taking up space for people, but by first trying to create opportunities where other people that you support can then accept the opportunity and speak for themselves and advocate for themselves. But then also you have to put out there that you're ready to support. Like, you have to go to different organizations and ask, what do you need? You have to publicly take part, like, in there used to be some AIDS festival in the 70s or 80s, I think, where they were like raising money about AIDS awareness and like research. So doing stuff like that, like reaching out to the organization, I'd love to do this because my skill is I'm a singer. Let me sing so I can help. So, but that's all I can think of. Like, it's a matter of being there when needed, supporting when needed, and then actively making sure that people know that you're there to help. You don't have to scream it off the rooftops, but you can send an email, you can DM someone, you can read a book, like, you can put yourself in situations where you can't be in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it. That's like a general answer. It's a lot deeper than that, but yeah.
Shreya?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Because I don't know anything about this guy. He just looked really sad in the video, and that's about it. I saw him apologizing on video, which I don't think a lot of people do. Um, so I can appreciate that. Um, but again, I don't know anything about what happened, what people said after, what he said, how he said, his background, nothing. You just mentioned that he grew up in the United States, so it sounds like somebody who knows better or should know better. Um, but if I go by what I said earlier, that acknowledging your mistake and showing genuine remorse and then moving it and not doing it again is the standard that I set, then fine. I don't know because it's very difficult to please everyone. There would have been a section of his fans who felt that that was genuine enough, and they were like, okay. And there are a section who thought that was not so genuine, um, especially with the bit of the donations and the gifts or whatever, or found him insincere. Um, so there's always going to be a section that's not going to be happy with what you're doing. So how do you be a true ally? Well, one, be honest. I think that's important. I don't like it when I find it really how do I put this? I find people who pretend to be allies more annoying than those who are openly not allies.
Mm,
Right? In the sense that you could be someone say, hey, I respect you guys. I have nothing against and I respect you and I wouldn't say anything to offend you, but I'm probably not going to go out of my way to do something. Probably not going to do that because it's just not something that I would do, but I'm not opposed to it. Instead of someone who, would go out and do all of that for the PR, for the fan service and everything, and then actually hold opinions or do things that would suggest the contrary.
mm,
You know?
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what a true ally is because we are talking about celebrities. But I guess someone who's honest and does what they can within their means is fine.
Two things. Because you just said it. Me personally, when I'm answering all these questions you're asking, I'm honestly not answering it from the perspective of celebrities. I'm answering it from the perspective in general, just because it happens all the time. Sometimes if I say like, oh, specifically this situation, but to me, it's like this happens all the time. So I think this is just a general conversation.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
but I do acknowledge that this is within the K-pop lens and K-pop industry. So I do have that, what is it, framing in mind. Second thing, I'm someone who, when I see apologies like that, I don't care. If I'm being completely honest with you, your apology, appreciate it, but it doesn't really do much for me. I think you telling me that he then opened it up for fans to come in and like talk about it, that means more to me than him sitting
Mm,
there saying sorry. Obviously, you're sorry, whether you're sorry about the fact that you hurt people or you're sorry about the fact that it hurt you. There's
mm-hmm.
some type of guilt that's there,
Yeah.
some shame or upsetness. So when
Or
people
sorry that you got
apologize,
caught.
or sorry that
Mm-hmm.
you got caught, like, of course you're saying sorry, like the situation happened and it hurt you or someone else in some way. But when you have to take it a step further than that. You have to take it a step further with helping, like I said earlier, like helping people heal the ones that you've hurt if they want that. So some fans might have just enjoyed hearing the conversation between him and other fans. Some of those fans wanted to join the conversation. They wanted to talk. So I appreciate that. And I think that shows more allyship. Is that a word?
It is today.
Okay, bet. It shows more allyship than you just saying, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I believe in this. Like words are just words.
Yeah.
Words mean a
Mm-hmm.
lot to me, genuinely. Like I think I should be able to trust your word. But in situations like this, when you've hurt people that deeply, they're just words and your actions matter 10 times more. So I'm sure now, like, like Shreya said, some people liked it, some people appreciated it, some people don't care. But he has the ability and the chance to keep showing that he's an ally rather than just saying. So we'll see what happens.
Um, I'll speak really quick. I had like 2 points. I want to first talk about like how I navigate as a K-pop fan, and then also to the point of disappointment. So, me as a K-pop fan, I feel weird sometimes because I feel like I have to operate on like with a level of detachment when it comes to situations like these. Um, I stand like 5 groups, y'all know. But I would say I would only really be like disappointed and like hurt if like my top 2 groups did something. Like I even have a level of detachment from like the other 3 that I say I stand. I actually do stand them. It's not like I say I stand them. Like and I feel you mentioned earlier, Rose, how like you don't get how people are still like surprised when things like this happen. I feel like I still get surprised because it's like in the big year of 2025, y'all are still acting this way, but I don't get disappointed. It's like You know, I don't know them like that. I don't put things past people like that, you know? And I feel like when you look at disappointment, in order to be disappointed, you have to put a level of trust within somebody to feel that disappointment. And I don't give that easily, not to celebrities, and especially not K-pop. You know what I mean? Because it's like you can never put they might have bias, they might have prejudice. You never know. You know, so I don't put people on that pedestal. And when I look at my two favorite K-pop groups, BTS and ATEEZ, I feel like I have seen evidence of them, at least if they do apologize, they also put actions behind it. And I'm not saying other groups don't do that. It's just I've seen it with Blackpink. BTS.
I was like, what?
I said, ooh.
We were just talking about how Blackpink ignored it because it didn't go into mainstream
I'm
media
crying.
attention.
Ooh.
But okay.
Tongue slip. Okay. BTS and ATEEZ. I know a lot of people will bring up, well, BTS, Namjoon said the N word when he was performing a cover of a song way back when. Yeah, he did. And there have been other things that they did closer to debut. But you've seen how Namjoon himself has, first of all, apologized, taken accountability, especially when like things like his lyrics were called out for like misogyny, like War of Hormone. I mentioned that.
I know that song smacks. I
Yeah.
understand, but it smacks. It's a
Really
good
great
one.
song. Like he went out of the way to educate himself, read books, get his lyrics checked by experts because he didn't want to offend people like that again. You know what I mean? Like there's just certain actions that they've done, and then in recent years nothing's happened. Like there hasn't been another scandal that has caused ARMY to get disappointed like that, you know? And then with ATEEZ, I remember Hungjoon, it must be something about them leaders, you know. Hungjoon, I remember he said one time before, like, if anything ever happens where we do something that offends you all, please let us know so then we can learn. And I remember when he had those little braids in his head for the Thanks music video, girlies didn't like that, and he hasn't had those little braids in since. So I feel like it's the actions that you put after the words. You know what I mean? Like, as you
Agreed.
said, like, the words don't really matter that much. You have to see how they move afterwards, which is really indicative of whether or not they demonstrate the traits of being like an ally. You know what I mean? So I feel like people are going to make mistakes, but it's like you really have to look at that. And that's what I can kind of put my trust in, where it would lead to me getting disappointed if they do something. But outside of that, for a lot of the groups in K-pop, I do kind of walk around like, hey, you make great music. You could be racist too. I don't know. But, you know, I'm just going to, you know, walk that line. So I just feel like it's like an interesting experience sometimes for Black K-pop fans.
I do think I like that you made the distinction of like you're still surprised, but you're not always disappointed. Because I do think that's a big thing too. Like there are some racist things that happen where I'm like, dang, that that's crazy. Like, whoa. But it's not a surprise of the fact that people do. And I'm an optimist. I really am. Like I believe the best in people until you tell me otherwise. But I am also realistic in the fact that racism is ingrained in every part of our society. And so Namjoon, I was like, what's his name? And so Namjoon rapping the N-word in the beginning of his debut, that's ignorance, and I'm not surprised by it, but it's great that he did like all that work and research to get better. Today's day and age, I don't believe, not even today's day and age, I think ever, I don't think people would go to that level of let me fix the mistakes I made. Let me learn, let me educate myself. And so I'm not surprised, but the distinction between being surprised and being disappointed, I think is a big one to make.
Mm.
Because you have to heal the disappointment more so than the surprise. You can be surprised by anything,
Yeah.
but disappointment, that's deep.
Mm.
Okay. So the next one's a doozy, y'all. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
Situation 3, Kiss of Live's infamous birthday live stream. So for this next one, a girl group called Kiss of Life, they did a live stream to celebrate their member Julie's birthday. The theme that Julie picked out was old school hip hop, and here's a compilation of clips from the live stream. I have a video, but then I also have some other things, some other like screenshots and stuff to show as well. So I'll say a little bit more post the video.
No, I'm talking about me flirting with my man, and that's not a bestie. I didn't. 그건 조심해. I didn't flirt with him. It's just me. 오빠. Just me. Wait, who that? Who's that? Come out. Like that's no. Let's talk about another friend. What for you guys? Oh my. Are you sure we'll talk about? I'm not sure though. I was kind of drunk. Let's talk about another friend. Why? No, I didn't. Oh, why? The person. Who that? 마음에 안 들어. Who that? 자꾸 우리 주위 땡기로 말하는 거 마음에 안 들어. Who that? 잠깐만 기다려봐. 하루 종일 마음에 안 들어. 야, 오빠 전화한다. 방해 밖에. 오빠 전화한다. 이상한 사람 온다. 밖에 처리한다. I'm out of town. Talking with me around.
I don't even get it.
I get it.
What is it?
Dang.
Yeah, so after this happened, people were obviously like outraged, of course. The company issued an apology. The apology didn't do anything for me, frankly. They said their intention was to show how much they love the category of old school hip hop, and especially since it influences a lot of their music. But if their way of showing their appreciation and love is to put on a modern day minstrel show, I don't know what else to tell you. But let me show you guys the apology and then something else as well. Yes,
Wait.
Shreya.
What was that? I didn't understand that. What was that?
They were cosplaying old school hip hop. That was they were acting like rappers. That was how they chose to depict them. That's not how they normally act.
Okay.
So they were
So that
acting
was-
out stereotypes and negative caricatures of rappers and Black people. And Little Taco Bell. So disrespectful to the Hispanic.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just disrespectful and stereotypical and just not nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this was like their little apology that they posted on their Instagram. Don't
We
worry
are
about like
Ravi?
reading it for real. Huh?
We
Yeah.
are Ravi?
But I want to turn you guys' attention to like the screenshot that's like next to it. So a few days before the live stream happened, it came out on April 2nd. On March 31st, Belle, the member who was like doing the most, she said on the Bubble app, which is what they use to communicate with our fans, she said, "This year's birthday live was so much fun. Please look forward to Julie Oni's birthday content too, and promise you won't leave the fandom after watching it." So just for background, Julie, born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. Belle, born and raised in Seattle, Washington. So they have two American members. So saying, "Please don't leave the fandom after," it clearly indicates that they knew something was wrong, that it might ruffle feathers, that it would be offensive, but they still did it anyway. So people were generally just like blown away and saying, "I think this is the most racist display that I've seen in K-pop since," people said like since second gen, which I don't know what they were doing in second gen, but it was just really gross. And they were a group that I was going to show you guys and introduce their music, and I was going to stand them, but I didn't actually like their fandom name, Kissy. That's the only reason why I didn't stand
Kissy?
them, because I can't imagine saying, "Hey guys, I'm a Kissy." Didn't sound right to me. But now I don't really feel like doing that. Yeah, they make great music
who
too.
approved
It's a
that?
shame. Who
Who
knows?
approved that? That's crazy.
Yeah. So, with the K-pop industry continuously pushing for global expansion, should there be a responsibility on idols and companies to exercise global cultural sensitivity?
Okay. So I had a whole answer, and now that I've seen the video, I have something else that I want to address because that was crazy. It's not like it's crazy in the sense of this happens all the time, and I'm just going to explain why it's an issue. Not because you asked about it, Shreya, but because for some reason, like saying the N-word is a direct, tangible, this is oppressive. But then when people mimic like Black culture and African American vernacular, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's another word in there.
English.
Vernacular
AAVE.
English. AAVE. When they mimic it, it's like it's easy to be like, I'm confused. It's a culture. Like we're just taking part. My thing is, especially because she said that her, I'm sorry, I'm about to go off for a second. She said that her theme, she wanted it to be old school hip hop. And what people tend to forget is that hip hop was created out of a necessity for Black people and Latino people to express themselves during oppression. Like, I think it was created, I'm going to say 70s, 80s. It really blew up in the 90s. But hip hop was created as a way for these different marginalized groups, specifically Black and Latino people, who are experiencing economic hardship, who are experiencing discrimination and prejudice, who are experiencing neglect and care on a systemic level. That's why it was created. And so then when people are mimicking hip hop, whether it's through the music, through the way people talk, the way they act, whatever, you're basically spitting in their face and making fun of the fact of, you're making fun of the trauma and their hardships. It's like if I told you guys, oh guys, I'm really depressed today. Like I don't like what's going on in my life. I don't see a way out. Like I'm just so sad. I'm sobbing and crying, and then you guys are mimicking my sobbing and my crying. Like it's just disrespectful because the foundation of hip hop is something that it's so recent. It's a genre that's so recently created. You should hold respect to it. And I don't think people do that enough because people don't have the training for it. Like back to your question now. Globally speaking, like if K-pop is trying to push out of Korea and they've done a really great job on it, you should educate yourself on the different cultures that you're trying to put yourself into, even if you're not taking part in the actual culture itself. Like even if you're not gonna, you want to market to Africa, but you're not using Afrobeats. Even in aspects of that, if you're marketing to Africa, get to know Africa. Like you can't just show up and be like, hey, we're here, you know? And so I think on the on the me giving them grace, with me giving them grace, I'm gonna say that Korea is mainly Koreans. Like Korea, when you think of countries like Korea, the Philippines, India, like all these countries, it's predominantly one race. Obviously, there's different like religions, there's different body types, gender, all that stuff. But for the most part, it's one race. In America, you see a bunch of different races all the time, everywhere. And so DEI is a part of our vocabulary. We're not the best at it. We definitely struggle with it, but it's something we take part in often because we are a quote unquote melting pot. Not my favorite term, but that's how people remember America. But when it comes to countries like Korea, where it's the same race, there's differences, obviously. No one race is the same. There's different, all that stuff. But they're not necessarily used to the idea of having to be culturally sensitive to this scale. And so I will give them grace in that sense because you don't grow up with it. You don't grow up with, okay, well, I'm in the South, so I didn't have that many minorities here. But you have two Black people and then an Asian person, an Indian person, a white person, all in one class. And so it's not necessarily outwardly directly in your face, like be culturally sensitive, but to a degree, you start to learn these little things that become subconscious or unconscious to you. That's the only grace I can give them. But we're in the year of 2025, and at this point, all these things have been going on. Two of you grew up in America, so like I can't even give you that much grace. It's like 50% grace at this point. Like you can't just say you like something but not understand the history behind it. You can't just say you want to have a birthday party that's old school hip hop, but you don't, only because it's cool. If we're being honest, people take on hip hop because they think it's cute and the way that they dress, the way that they act. And it's just disrespectful. Like that was a group of people's traumatic experience. It still is people's traumatic experience. And you made fun of it. And I will give you grace in the fact that you didn't grow up in an environment like that. I'll give you a little bit of grace because too, if you're American, once again, that was crazy. I was not expecting you to say that. I'm not gonna lie. But nevertheless, I digress. That's crazy. I don't even listen to hip hop music, but I don't like when people take hip hop music and turn it into something that it's not. Like this cool thing. It's literally a form of coping through trauma on a national level. I'm done.
That's nice that you give them grace. I give them zero grace, especially since Belle made it clear she knew that it was going to be offensive and they still did it. It was planned and they still did it 2 days later. But I
How old
agree
are
with what
they?
she said. I don't know right off, but when they debuted, a lot of people were very excited because only one of them was like a minor. The youngest was 18. The rest are in their 20s.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah. And to the
You're just a
point
bad
of
person. Sorry, you're just a bad person at that point. But continue.
to the point of cultural sensitivity, I just think it's the K-pop is trying to be more there is increasingly a seat in the mainstream for K-pop. K-pop isn't mainstream yet, but people make spaces for it. You know, they get little
Yeah.
categories. We see them on primetime talk shows, on the red carpets. Like, we see them more. And I just feel like with that, if that's where y'all want to go, you guys, you have to adjust to that. Because it only hurts you in the end if you are culturally insensitive, because if you especially look at different situations that have happened in the music industry, it's very xenophobic and very racist towards
Yeah.
Asians. Like, they look for anything
Hmm.
to say and cut people down, especially when they get a little achievement. They look for any way to change the rules, to snatch that away, to elevate people who are Western. You know what I mean? And so there's this one example that I remember while thinking about this question. And this one's a little bit more innocent, but I remember at um the start of ATEEZ's North American leg for the Towards the Light tour. They started off in Tacoma, Washington State, and Mingy and they're the they're the tallest members, and so their nickname is Twin Towers.
Oh yeah.
That has no real meaning like in Asia. Like, people, I didn't think of anything much when I heard them saying it. But when you come to America, the videos of Hungjoon introducing them as the Twin Towers, everyone was like, what? He didn't say it again, because I know someone got to him and said, yeah, in the American
Yeah.
memory, when you say Twin Towers, they think about 9/11. You know what I mean? So I just think, like, it's little things like that. It's so important, because you might not even mean to do it, but it's so easy to be offensive. And when you have things like the Kiss of Life live stream, where it's like they were so purposely and intentional with their caricatures, I'm telling you, that wasn't different from a minstrel show. They might as well have painted their faces while they were at it. Like, I think
No,
it's
honestly.
ridiculous. But yeah.
It's I don't know. I have to give him grace. I agree in the anyone who doesn't give him grace, I'm also on your side. But I have to give them just a little bit of grace just because when you're so far removed from someone else's traumatic experience, it's hard for you to sympathize. And to me, that's how I distinguish someone I want in my life and someone I don't. So if I meet someone who is so far removed from someone's traumatic experience and they're not willing to even show sympathy, not even empathy, sympathy, then I'm like, you're not for me. But if you're willing, if you can be far removed from someone's traumatic experience and even on an intellectual level, just be intellectual and understand what's going on, then it's like, okay, I would want someone like that in my life because you'll grow. It doesn't seem like these girls want to change or grow. Putting that on the whatever website they do with their fans, that's crazy. Like you are not a good person and you are accepting the fact that you're not a good person and you don't care. Like that's actually insane. Like get checked out. What's going on? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just genuinely confused. You hurt a group of people and then you're sitting here making a joke about it. Like,
Yeah.
what?
And I think K-pop as an industry, they tend to only respond if it's something that would impact, one, their money, or two, their home
Sales,
base, which
yeah.
is Korean people. Understandable. It's Korean pop, I get it. But when you're trying to be more global, you have to care sometimes when international fans get hurt, because you want their money just as much as you want Korean fans' money. So I just think, and I think people are okay with, not people, but like companies, they're okay when it's scandals like that, where it's like, oh, the N word, because it's like, it's Black people that are offended. First of all, you're gonna have a faction of fans who are like, they didn't know, oh, forgive them or get over it, it's not that deep. And then that faction, the people who are hurt and are trying to educate, they're not big enough to impact the money, unfortunately. But God forbid it idle dates, then the companies are really gonna crack down. So I just think it's, when you're trying to move more globally, you have to consider other things like that. But yeah. Anything, Shreya?
Crazy.
You look like you had like something to say, but it's cool if you don't as well.
I can't hear
You're
you.
muted.
The Twin Tower thing, comment about that.
Mm.
I think you're giving too much grace. Everybody knows about it. Everybody knows about it. Everybody. knows about
Everyone
it.
knows. I'm just gonna say everyone knows. People I've spoken to internationally, they know about 9/11, but they're not necessarily gonna know the term of like the Twin Towers getting hit. Like I know a lot of people who are learning the term Twin Towers for me. To them, it's like it's when the planes crash into the building when that terrorist attack happened. It's not necessarily Twin Towers,
All right.
but
But
they know
fair.
the situation.
Yeah.
It's fair. They know the situation itself, and I'm sure even if you Google Twin Towers, Mingy and Yuno are not showing up. Okay,
Not at all.
it's 9/11, so
Yeah.
it's also
Yeah.
fair.
The first thing that shows up is World Trade Center 1973 to 2001.
Yeah,
That's the first thing that shows up.
it's
Okay.
So fair. Maybe it
every
shouldn't have been a nickname to begin with. Maybe it shouldn't have.
facts. Because I was gonna say, even when you go to the 9/11 memorial, you're going to the World Trade Center, what's it called? Station, subway station, if
Mm-hmm.
you take the subway. So I don't know, but
I
I
was
do know a
saying-
lot of people who don't know. I
Mm.
know a lot of people who don't know Twin Towers.
I was saying Mingy and Yuno, maybe that shouldn't have been the nickname to begin with. That's what I was saying. But yeah. Because that's fair. I don't know. I
That's
wasn't
also
going to
fair.
assume how much people know about it abroad, but, you know. But yeah, maybe.
Honestly, it's a weird one.
Yeah. It's like, we get it. They're tall. You could have said a bunch of other things too. But yeah.
2 drafts.
I don't
Like,
think I've heard him say it, them refer to them as that since. But I don't know. I don't keep up that much. But yeah. He definitely stopped after that show. Because definitely by the time he got to City Field, couldn't have been saying it. Could not have been saying it there. But yeah.
the dark humor side of me laughs. The dark humor side of me. But I understand the severity of it.
Okay, really quick. We have one more. Situation 4, the use of AAVE, the quote unquote hip hop aesthetic, and hairstyles. So next I just have a collection of photos from various artists. I'm gonna just pull up the pictures. Let's take a look at this. Okay.
So that's just blackface.
It is.
Okay.
I had to be fair. I had to include even people that I like,
Course.
even though they have changed. You got RM debut hairstyle. Well, not quite the debut style, but another style he did. You got Hungjoon in the little braids. Mamamoo right here.
Where?
Right here. At the top, right next to RM.
Mamamoo?
Yeah, that was them. They were
Arden? Where's Arden? What the hell?
RM's in the corner with the glasses.
Oh, okay, the hair. Okay.
Yeah.
Mamamoo is with
Here.
Uptown Funk.
Yep.
I literally thought that was Bruno Mars. I swear to you. I thought that was Bruno Mars.
Yeah. And then we have one more page.
What's wrong with this? What's
Not
wrong with the one?
do-rag.
What's
I
wrong with
know.
V?
He's got a do-rag up. People were mad. I don't personally feel a type of way about do-rags, but people were
What's a
little
do-rag?
mad.
It's like a bonnet for
yeah,
men.
it's for men. They do it. Keep they waves on swim.
And that's offensive if somebody else wears it?
It depends.
Yeah,
Some
people feel differently.
Because now, like, the curly hair community are wearing bonnets. And then
Yeah,
a lot of black people are like, why are you wearing bonnets? That's ours. But I think a big part of it is the fact that you made fun of black people for wearing bonnets and do-rags. You've called them ghetto,
yeah.
educated, all these disrespectful things. And now you're taking part of it. So it's like, hypocrite.
It's ratchet until a white person does it.
It does it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last page we have AAVE. Now, I'll be honest, AAVE doesn't really bother me the way it bothers other people. I think it's funny, because what does y'all finna catch me mean? What does that mean? You didn't need gon and finna. You could have said you gon' catch me, you finna catch me. You didn't need to say both, because that's a double negative. You know what I mean? Not a double negative, but you're saying the same thing twice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's redundant.
This beat on slap. She just mixed two things together, said, boom, I made something new. And then as much as I love Jungkook, My Time is a great song. Someday I'll finna find my time. It don't make sense, but it's fine.
Yeah, I was reading that like 10 times.
What's finna? What's finna?
Like about to.
Yeah, but it doesn't work in that way. Like, that's not how you
Someday
would correctly do
I'll
it.
about to find my time.
Like, I get what he's saying. It's just the
Yeah.
syntax of the sentence doesn't work.
It doesn't match, yeah. So I think it's interesting because when I look at like AAVE, most of the times I don't notice it because I'm just like, listening to like the music itself. But when I actually take a second to look at the lyrics, I'm like, But then I also noticed that I don't take the artist seriously as a lyricist as much when I just see that, especially when they're like a repeat offender of that, because it just doesn't feel authentic. If that's not how you talk in everyday life, it's like, I get it. Sometimes they use it as like a device to do certain things in music, but it's just kind of like, you know. But yeah, people are like deeply divided about it shouldn't be used, da 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 da. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's how I feel. So where do you guys
Jungkook.
think, I know, where do you guys think the line is between cultural appreciation and culture appropriation? And I can pull up the pictures again if you guys would like.
I would prefer not to see the blackface picture. That is literally like it reminds me of the 1920s. That's
Yeah, blackface
crazy.
is actually terrifying. I really don't like it.
Same. Mm,
I think it depends on how the community reacts to it. In the sense that I don't see any of them doing anything Indian, so I can't comment on that. But if suppose I found recently there was some, I don't know about cultural appropriation, but it was more about cultural disrespect. I think it was a Blackpink video, music video, where they had idols of a deity, and they basically, it wasn't very respectful, like whatever they were doing with the deity. And it did offend me because I thought it was ignorant and maybe slightly disrespectful because you are ignorant for doing that, but I didn't think it's, if I see someone wearing a sari or a bindi, I'm not going to get offended. I think, oh, you want to do that? Okay, cool, no problem. I'll show you how to drape it. That's how I'd approach it. But that's me. I don't know about um, other communities are entitled to react the way they would, or the way they want, based on their history, based on their experiences and how they view it. In my personal opinion, as long as you say that, hey, this is from India, this is from so and so region, and I'm wearing this because I really think it's beautiful, I like this, I think it's a lovely way, I like the way they express themselves while they do this, fine. As long as you're doing it with respect and out of curiosity and love, I'm fine with that. But that's my culture, so I'm fine with whatever they do regarding that. It's a very individual
mm-hmm.
thing, in my opinion. Um, based on that, I don't think. Yeah, again, I'm limiting myself to that point. But when it comes to my culture, as long as you're saying that, hey, this is from India or this is from South India, I'm fine with it. And you're doing it respectfully, I'm fine with it.
I think for me, I agree with Shreya. I think part of it is the way a culture reacts. But, well, to me, the main thing is intention. Like, what's your intention behind it? Again, are you doing it because it's cool or because everyone does it? Or are you doing it because you actually want to take part or learn about the culture? If you're going to use Afrobeats, for example, do research on Afrobeats. Where did they originate from? How were they spread? Back to what I said earlier, like colonization is the reason for a lot of spread of cultures. So was the spread of Afrobeat something that was unethical or immoral? Um, you have to look into like big people within Afrobeats, like who are the popular artists? Why are they popular? What do they like? What parts of Afrobeats are about a specific culture and what part of it is just tradition overall, you know? So I think it's just a matter of your intention behind it. And to me, the example I think of, I'm going to start before I explain this. I am not 100% confident in the facts of this statement or this example. It's just what I saw on TikTok and I did not fact check it. Anyway,
Hmm.
one thing's for certain is that ATEEZ has a lot of Latin influence in their music. And I honestly think that's why I got so into ATEEZ because I like Latin music and then they were like K-pop and they have some songs that are just, it just screams like where I got the own music and stuff like that. And so I saw that it was a Latin artist. I know him. He's really popular. I don't know if it wasn't Bad Bunny. I would remember Bad Bunny, but it was a Latin artist, maybe Maluma or something. They were at one of ATEEZ's like private concerts. And he was recording with the fans, we're recording with Hungjoon, and I had learned that Hungjoon produced some music with him, and Hungjoon learned a lot from him, and I remember when I learned it, and I'm bringing it up because I was like, oh, that makes sense why they have such subtle Latin influence in their music. So to me, I would see that as cultural appreciation. You're working with someone of that culture, you're understanding the steps behind it, you're understanding the history behind it. I'm obviously not in the room, so I don't know what they're talking about, but you take it you take it as far as getting to know someone who actually lives that experience. So that's
Hmm.
appreciation rather than just being like, oh, I really like the way Latin music sounds, so I'm going to incorporate it. Like I heard Jun say that, I think it was, I don't know when he said this, maybe a couple years ago, but he said he really wants to get into writing some country music. Get into, was that English? Getting into writing and producing country music. And he hasn't done it yet. I've honestly been waiting, genuinely, especially since work with the whole style being like cowgirl theme. But in my head, I'm like, maybe he's doing the research. Maybe he's interacting with people who take part in country music and understanding the history. I don't know. I'm not in the room with him, but I would say that's an example of what cultural appreciation is. You can't just do something because you think it's cool. You can't just
Mm.
use a symbol because you're like, oh, I like that. You have to understand the origins of it, like hip hop. And I think honestly, let's just be honest. Every K-pop management industry or organization needs to have like some form of a consultant, outsource them, find a consultant that's good with DEI, find a consultant that knows about hip hop and put it a part of training. Because if you're just going to include hip hop in like most of K-pop from what I've seen, just add it to your training. It's an extra couple weeks that people have to sit down and learn the history of hip hop. They have to sit down and learn the history of some cultures being culturally sensitive. It's literally 2 weeks. They will be okay just sitting in a classroom learning, or going to an African American center, or going to New York, going to the Bronx or Brooklyn and seeing original like hip hop culture. Like, come on. It doesn't take that long. Please.
I agree. I was gonna speak on the hip hop like aesthetic. I really, it's a style for real. Like that era, it is a style, and a
Yeah.
lot of people dress that way. But I don't like how sometimes it is used as like a costume. I really don't like that. And I've seen videos like of K-pop um idols, like when they're like dressed in that, it's like they'll have the chain on, they'll have the baggy jersey, the Timberlands, and they're like, this is hip hop, this is hip, and it's like I really
I
don't
see what you're
like
saying.
that. And so it makes me think about, to your point about like there needs to be like some form of like learning and immersing within the culture just so they have an understanding. I really appreciate, even though some parts were a little like ooh and cringy, when BTS did American Hustle Life in 2014. They went to LA, they met with Coolio, they met with Warren G. I think Warren G especially, he was walking them through and saying, this is where we made this music, da 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 da. And although like it was only for like maybe the equivalent of like a week or two that they were there, I really feel like they honestly understood hip hop. And I think that's why when you look at the music that especially like the rap line makes, since they're more like hip hop centered, it feels more authentic in ways, and it feels like they really have a passion for the craft and an understanding. And I think that's why Black artists in general really appreciate BTS, because it doesn't come off gimmicky, it doesn't come off like, I like some NCT songs, but two baddies, one Porsche. What is that? I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? But it's like, I just don't like how it's like gimmicky aesthetic, and it's like an aesthetic and like a costume. I really don't like that. I like when it's like, if that's really like anyone can do hip hop, you know what I mean? If that's really like the genre that you're interested in and you take a lot of pride into it, that's beautiful. That's great. But I don't
hmm
like when it's like the surface level aspect of it, where it's just you like the aesthetic, you like the hairstyle, you like wearing the baggy jersey. That's what I don't like. And I think more people should have American Hustle Life esque experiences. Maybe not a fake kidnapping where you have all these buff Black guys get in the car and drive off with you and their manager walked out. Maybe not that. I don't think the traumatizing aspect is needed, but just the learning. And RM went on to collaborate with Warren G and Wale, and it generally led to like bonds. You know what I mean? People don't always get that, but K-pop idols, they send their K-pop companies, they send their idols to like learn how to dance in America. There's time to do that. They should, because I
Yeah.
think they'll get more out of it and they'll get a better understanding and appreciation for the culture.
I think you can see in BTS's music, like, for those who don't know, she would sit me down and like put the lyrics up.
Yeah.
Cause I couldn't compute it. Well, part of it was in Korean, but I just rap music, it don't work in my head. But she would put the music up or the lyrics up, and I feel like you can see hip hop ideology in the rap line of BTS. And there's some hip hop influence in the music, of course, but I feel like they took the ideology behind hip hop, like writing about hardship, whether it's economic, mental, emotional, whatever, and putting that into the music, which is why it feels authentic because it's their hardship. It's not someone else's hardship. It's not someone else's language. It's the hardship that they're going through. And then they're able to like, it honestly speaks to their musical intelligence to be able to do that and to transform it into something that fits their life. Not
Yeah.
many people can do that. So kudos to them.
Really quick, and onto the part of like it's their struggle. There is this one group. They got outraged, so they took it back. I think it was Young Posse. They're like a young female hip hop group. Um, they had like this Christmas thing, and on the album they had this little caption: "Santa Claus coming to the hood." What hood is in Korea? I'm sorry. Like it's just don't do that. You don't need to do that. You can make great music. You can be hip hop based, but you don't have to do things like that.
Yeah.
And also their little hand sign, one of it is a gang sign, and people are like, you might not want to do that in America, but okay.
Real quick, because I forgot about this, when it comes to AAVE, I always think about it because I hear people getting upset about it, and I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't like you T, I don't really get bothered by it. But then I was thinking, like a couple months ago, and I was like, I don't use AAVE. I feel uncomfortable when I use AAVE because yes, I was born in America, but I'm Senegalese first. Like my culture is Senegalese. And so like for me it's like if I feel uncomfortable using AAVE because it feels inauthentic to me and I'm a black person who grew up in America, now I'm starting to be like, okay, so why is someone in Korea or in Britain or Spain, wherever, using AAVE? Like I get it because I'm uncomfortable using it because I don't feel like it speaks to me. It literally feels like I'm acting, like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. So yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me, but it bothers me now. Like it used to be, I was fine before. Before I was like, it's fine, but now I'm like, oh, that's just so cringy. Like you're being fake. That's not who you
It's
are.
just like I just think it's funny, but I don't take it you seriously as an artist, but it's like,
Hmm.
oh, that's funny. You
Yeah,
finna go and
it
catch
does.
me.
No, Jungkook, if you ever see this,
That was Lisa. But
that's
yeah, for my
no the
time, yeah.
I'm thinking the Jungkook one. Yeah, Jungkook, take your L. The K-pop industry faces a lot of challenges and obstacles when breaking into the global society, global music industry. And the answer is not trying to mimic or copy other things that have been successful, because those things have been successful because they are representative of a group or culture or identity that needed a voice, right? I think if the K-pop industry focuses on bringing their culture to life, and it's fine if you're taking part in other cultures in a respectful and kind way. But if they focus on being more authentic to themselves, they probably won't run into these issues as much as they are. Because I see it all the time. Ever since I became an 18, that message just randomly pops up. Just be authentic, and I promise you, you won't run. Be authentic and be a good person, and you
Yeah.
won't run into these issues. You will not run into these issues, I promise.
Any
Okay.
final words, Shreya?
I agree with what she said. Like, don't lose what made K-pop K-pop,
Exactly. Hmm.
right? Yeah.
You
Cool.
can be inclusive without taking over. It's possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm. Agree. I agree with that. I didn't mean it that way, but I agree with that statement completely.
Rock on. Or wait, rock on.
Rock. Oh, Black Power. Okay, well that was a good
Okay.
conversation. We're gonna wrap up for today. Until next time.
Stay curious.
Stay true.
Stay unapologetically you. Bye.
Bye bye.